You're listening to Out Cincinnati at 91.7 WVXU. It's a radio artifact anytime at OutCincinnati.com. David Wolf is the I never got your official title, David. Assistant Festival.
I got Festival Programming Director.
There you go, for OutReels. And what is the OutReels Film Festival for people who don't know?
So first of all, you should know. But second of all,
yes, you should.
This is our 9th year. So it's the LGBTQ Film Festival for Cincinnati. So like I said, we've been around for several years. So it's a weekend of films, talkback events and stuff with films about gay, lesbian characters, films made by them, just films about our community, talkbacks there, things like that.
And this goes from a Friday or a Thursday to a Sunday. When are the dates this year?
Yeah, so this year we're doing a little different. It's November 21st through 24th, which is the week before Thanksgiving. So Thursday night, we're kind of having a more fun, kind of lighthearted night to get your weekend started. We have one screening that night, and then 2 screenings Friday night, and then 4 during the all day on Saturday. And then we have one special one on Sunday that's actually separate at a separate location. Most of the films, all of the films are at the Garfield Theater downtown Cincinnati, and then the one Sunday is going to be at the Baker Hunt Art and Cultural Center in Covington.
And what is special about, because that Sunday is usually that's the end on Saturday night. That's the end of it. So you added that this year. What are you screening that day, and what's special about? Well, it's all special. Well, what's special about that day?
So we had so many films this year that trying to juggle them, fit them all in and stuff, and we just couldn't cut them down. So we had one extra film we couldn't fit in those days. So this one film, it's actually called the really long name, so I'm going to actually look it up.
What is it? The one about First Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the unlikely story of the lesbians of First Friday.
Okay, and that's the one. Okay.
It kind of lent itself to an idea that we thought. So it's a documentary about a group of lesbians in Roanoke, Virginia in the 1970s that got together in very conservative area. So they were all closeted and, weren't really free to be themselves. So in order to kind of get together, they formed this group, and they met the first Friday of every month. So they mainly met like in people's homes for potluck, stuff like that, get-togethers. And so our screening on Sunday, we're actually doing a potluck where the OutReels committee is going to prepare a potluck for the people that come to the movie. And the director and writer of the documentary is going to be there. She's going to introduce the film. So it's kind of in keeping with that theme of community and being together and, doing something for your community.
And since you have the entire... And by the way, that the potluck, I think y'all are pretty good cooks from what I can remember, at least. When I
we like to eat.
Yes, when I attended before, there was definitely a Michael Chanick approved buffet, if you will, in there. So that's totally worth getting out to see on that Sunday, that extra day with that potluck. So what else, since you have the whole list? What's going to be in the festival. What other specific films are you looking forward to? I'm just kind of scrolling through the list here, and they all look great, but which ones are you definitely, you'll be there and folks should definitely show up?
So I guess just some of the highlights each day. We start Thursday night with Search Engines, which is kind of a fun one, especially since it's exactly 1 week before Thanksgiving. It's a comedy. Connie Stevens is in it, Jolie Fisher, Daphne Zungo from Melrose Place. So it's basically about a family that's forced to celebrate Thanksgiving without their cell phones. Something happens to their Wi-Fi, and they're kind of forced to actually communicate and be together and actually share real time instead of, time on the computer. So it is a comedy, but you can imagine it has some, ideas you can think about what's going on right now just with people and kind of isolation and stuff like that. So it's a good fun.
Does it end well? I mean, that sounds like
Yeah,
a fight in my family. All of a sudden, you can't touch your phone. I could see some short.
Well, there's lots of stuff that happens. Yeah, it's a comedy, so there's lots of kind of ups and downs that causes during the day.
And then you have some really good trans representation with Listen, where it's trans actors in trans roles. So that's something that folks always kind of prefer.
Yeah, Listen actually is during our shorts on Saturday. We have a Saturday afternoon. We have, I think there's 8 shorts in that block. Mm-hmm. And Listen is done by Jake Graff, who's one of our favorite filmmakers. They're trans themselves. And from the UK. He had a film, Dawn, several years at our festival, which is still one that I remember to this day. So that's a real neat one. And actually, speaking of that, Friday night, our kind of feature film is Adam, which actually premiered this year at the Sundance Film Festival. And it's, so speaking of trans actors, if you're familiar with MJ Rodriguez, she's in Pose right now.
Okay.
One of the main characters in the series. Yeah,
that's definitely on my definitely on my list in Netflix to keep watching. That's a good show.
So she's in that. So that's a really good movie. Some people, it's kind of a coming of age. People say kind of a John Hughes-esque type film for the LGBTQ community. It's set in Brooklyn in the early 2000s. And that one actually, before that one, Friday night in the first block, we have first a short called Pride Prom, which is about the first LGBTQ pride at Marquette University in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
And then that's followed up with Culture of Silence, being LGBTQ in Catholic schools. And that was actually done, you might have even talked to them or seen that it debuted here. It was produced by the local GLSEN chapter here in Cincinnati.
And that's the one, the Culture of Silence one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the prom is interesting because Marquette's a big Catholic university.
Yeah, so it's a Jesuit school, so we're hoping, maybe get some folks from Xavier and stuff, interested in maybe coming to that too, and might have some parallels there.
So, David, how do you get people to be interested in film? Say film festival's not my thing, it's not my speed, it's snooty and academic. Why is it important to support LGBT filmmakers in general, to get out on a Saturday and see some great films?
I think we've talked before with you that it's for us, it's all about community, everyone on the committee, and we all have a love of film. So to us, this is kind of a way for that community to, see ourselves represented on film, see stories in our community that we're not familiar with. Some films might make people uncomfortable, but it sparks dialogue. It creates, sometimes it might even create action, but there's definitely something different about watching a film in a theater with people than sitting at home on your couch watching a film. And, we do try to have other things. Like we said, we're having the potluck on Sunday. We have some displays. We're working with your dear friend Phoebe.
Oh,
we're
yes.
working on a display with Ohio Lesbian Archives that will be at the film on Sunday, kind of paralleling that film in the kind of parallel with the lesbian groups here in Cincinnati during the same time period. And, Thursday night, opening night, we're going to have something to kind of keep people downtown before going to the movie, so it's just, I think it's a great way, like you said, to represent community, even while our festival is not going on the rest of the year on Facebook, Instagram, everything, we're constantly trying to promote other groups in the community, other events, establishments, people in our community. So we're all about raising them up. And you talk about filmmakers, the film, The Culture of Silence is a local film. So always like supporting them and encouraging them. The during the short block on Saturday, David Beck has a film, The Backup Plan. He was here. He's from Dayton, Ohio, and he was here a few years. He had a film, For Francis, in our festival. So he's back with another one. So.
And these folks, when they can, they show up at these film festivals to hear from people, to participate in discussions afterwards, usually, right? What?
Yeah, so with the potluck on Sunday, Catherine, who's the producer and director of that film, she is going to be here, and hopefully with some other ladies that currently live nearby in Lexington, I believe, hoping they can make it up too. And then actually David plans to be here on Saturday. We have some people from the Culture of Silence. Josh probably, I think, will be here Friday night. Somebody actually from the Pride Prom is going to be here. And then we have a film we didn't talk about yet on Saturday. It's called For They Know Not What They Do. And you might have seen there was another film a couple years ago called For the Bible Tells Me So.
Is this kind of a follow-up?
So this is a follow-up to that film, yeah. And that won lots of awards. I actually saw it on public TV, on CET. And it's a documentary that tells a story about 4 Christian families and how they deal with the discovery that one of their children is either gay or transgendered. So we actually have somebody coming in for that film. We're working with Lighthouse Youth Services to bring that person in, and they're going to have a talk back after that film. That one's on Saturday.
There will be such a good talk after that because, you talk to people who are in the faith, who are in the medical field, who are, they all have a POV on it, and the general POV is just to accept and love, but, we're friends here, and, it's not the rest of the world, so that sounds like something that's definitely not to miss. And then to have Lighthouse there, they can definitely shed some light and then offer people, information on their services.
Right.
Yeah. And
so we're excited to partner with them.
You have a lot of, you were at the Incline last time I was at OutReels. And so what does this change for the Garfield? There's a lot more to do around there, it seems. Are you partnering with bars nearby or restaurants at all?
Yeah, that's the reason we're really excited to be downtown. We actually love the Warsaw Theater at the Incline. Great people to work with. We've had great festivals up there. But right now there's just, a synergy downtown. Lots going on down there. And they reopened a few years ago the Garfield, which was a movie theater years ago when I was younger. Before it was the Shakespeare Theater. And like you said, yeah, it is located, Below Zero is not far, Bar 901 is not far, the Birdcage is on the next block, Queen City Exchange, those are all just within blocks of there. So, we're encouraging people, come down, see a movie, head to a bar after, come to a bar before for drinks, happy hour, come over. There's some restaurants right near there. So, the one concern some people talk about parking, there's plenty of parking. We'll have maps on our Facebook and Instagram page. One right around the corner, it's like $3, I think. So,
that is a problem that's actually gotten easier over the years. I used to go to the Aronoff when I volunteered there, and I would never have an issue, and it's only gotten easier. So if you're gonna park, you're gonna do that $3. Go have a drink and see a film, and then go have a drink after. There's all you gotta do is look at the block to know. I was just looking at it out of the map. There's so much around. And do you find that filmmakers get a different sense? Well, you'll see this year, but you think they'll get a different sense of the city? Feel like they're actually, in downtown when they come to visit?
Well, we hope they'll be able to partake in more of Cincinnati. I feel like in the past, they either got themselves or we would pick them up, take them to the theater and stuff, but it was kind of away from downtown. We're here, we're hoping they get up and they do stuff downtown beforehand and then come over to the theater, or they, enjoy some of the, museums downtown, the restaurants downtown, just, what there is downtown. So,
and that'll be
we're
perfect.
hoping it'll be a good experience for them.
It's perfect to just kind of leave your hotel and go walk 4 or 5, 6 blocks and just and see what's there. I remember other film festivals where once you're downtown, you just, even if you had to drive in and park and you weren't right there, it's just good to explore. Lots of little places open up in that area and lots of changes in there. Definitely more accessible. So what is the cost? People think, for a whole weekend of films, it's got to be, won't be able to touch it. What's the cost, and where can people get passes to see these films?
Yeah, so it's really affordable. We haven't actually raised our price in years. I don't know if we ever have. I think this might be the same. A pass is $50, and that's for all the films Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, which at least 7 blocks. And then the block on Sunday is actually going to pay what, pay what you want, pay what you can type thing. So all the ones that are at the Garfield downtown, it's $50 for a pass, or just an individual block is $12. So tickets are available now. You can go to our website, OutReels, Cincy.org. And it lists the films there. It has descriptions of all the films, kind of a synopsis, a link to buy tickets. There's a separate link to buy weekend passes. So everything's on there.
And I know what definitely gets me excited about a film festival is to go through and watch the trailers for everything on the list. That'll really usually makes me want to see everything on the list, but it makes me feel like I need to, which I end up spending the weekend in the cinema. But it is exciting to see all these, because there's such a variety from the last time I was at OutReels. You can see folks from different geographical locations, different walks of life. So it's a really cool thing. OutReelsCincinnati.org. Oh, and I wanted to ask you the history of the festival. When did it? You said 9 years, but where did the name come from, and how did it get started? I know that's kind of a weird thing to ask at the end, but I think the history is cool.
So it actually started in 2012. Chuck Beatty started it. He's still the festival director, and he's involved in filmmaking himself, and he went to other cities, saw the festivals there, and kind of thought, why can't Cincinnati have this? So he came up with the idea, and the first few years it was at the No Theater downtown and over the Rhine area. I've been with the festival since that first year with him, and it was originally had a different name that was based on a publication that was an LGBT publication in Cincinnati at the time, which is no more. And so when we were looking for a new name, OutReels in Cincinnati, we kind of like the out, and we wanted Cincinnati in the name. And we found out that several years ago, I'm not sure exactly now when, there used to be an OutReels in Cincinnati for a couple years. I think it lasted 2 years. I'm not sure exactly.
And it was a film festival that existed before?
And it was a film festival, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we actually hadn't planned it that way, but it's kind of neat that we're kind of honoring that as well.
And you could continue something and, continue with that name or a similar name. It's really cool. And so 9 years later, and then there's so much film in Cincinnati. If you just type Film Festival Cincinnati in a search, OutReels could be the first one you check out, and then there's opportunities throughout the year to see great film. Thank you so much, David, from OutReels, for being on Out Cincinnati.
Great. Thank you, Chris.